So we've all heard of death in threes. The idea that celebrities, not always, but a lot of times, celebrities seem to pass away in a short period of time in threes. Ed McMahon on June 23rd, 2009. Farrah Fawcett on June 25th, just 2 days later. The same day, Michael Jackson, June 25th. 2016, David Bowie, January 10th, 2016. Alan Rickman, 2 days later on January 14th, 2016. Glenn Frey, 4 days later, January 18th, 2016. Later that year, Carrie Fisher, December 27th. December 28th, the very next day, Debbie Reynolds. And then George Michael on June 25th of 2016. Or Philip Seymour Hoffman, February 2nd, 2014. Just 8 days later, Shirley Temple. And then 2 days later, Sid Caesar. And then, of course, within the last week and a half, we have Malcolm Jamal Warner, who passed away July 20th. 2 days later, we had Ozzy Osbourne. And then 2 days after him, Hulk Hogan. Which brings me to my next point. We've heard of death in threes, but have you all ever heard of Psyops in threes? And for those of you who don't know, Psyop is short for psychological operation, which is something that the CIA propagates into the people by way of media and culture. And if you've never heard of a psyop in your life, I'll try to remember to link some videos in the description where we've covered the CIA and some things that they've done over the years to either fearmonger, to distract, or to even push the society in a particular direction by way of a civil war or a race war. And I have reason to believe that one of those things I just named, they're doing it again right now as we speak. But let's back up a little bit. Back in 2020, something stood out to me. I said, how come it seems like either just before an election or right after an election, there's always somebody that gets killed by the police? I noticed this. And then 2020 came. We had Ahmaud Arbery in February. Then we had Breonna Taylor in March. But 2 days before Breonna Taylor, the World Health Organization on March 11th officially declared us in a pandemic because of COVID. So 2 days after that, Breonna Taylor was killed. And then a month and a half after that, George Floyd. It came in threes, which it don't always come in threes, but this one came in threes. And the reason why this is important is because 3 is a really big number when it comes to occultism. And I need you all to understand, I don't talk a whole lot on this channel about numerology. We talk a little bit more about that on Patreon. If you are not yet a member of the Patreon, link is in the description. Please consider becoming a member, as you will have access to many videos you cannot find here on YouTube. But I try not to do that too much on this channel because I don't want to scare people or bore people away. And what I mean is, numerology is extremely important, especially when it comes to these sorts of deals. But I need to meet people where they are. And I just fear that if I use numerology, people will just think that this stuff is just conspiracy theories. People will just find it a lot harder to believe that this stuff is not just a coincidence. So I need to use other methods of showing people that no, there's a little bit more going on in this world than what they're telling us. And I just fear that using numerology sometimes, or leaning too much into numerology, can sometimes scare people away. But numerology is very important for us to talk about here because the number 3 will be very important in this video. Because in occultism, the number 3 symbolizes completion, transformation, and spiritual power. Or you can think about it like birth, life, and death, or body, mind, and spirit. You could think about it that way. It comes in threes to be able to complete it. And as we all know, George Floyd is probably the single most person that most people remember from all the rioting that took place, all the chaos that took place from 2020. Yes, some people may remember Ahmaud Arbery. Some people may remember Breonna Taylor. But most people remember George Floyd. He was the person that was used as an example, even though 3 people passed away. Why is that? It was because he was the third and final piece to take the country in a particular way in conjunction with COVID. Well, why are we talking about this? Because there's something that they're doing right now, as of today in 2025, that I'm going to show you all a pattern that they always do. Well, here we fast forward 4 years later, and we're in 2024, and we had a situation that took place last year, and that was who? Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey, if you all remember, was the lady that was killed by the cop. Well, what's weird about her death is that she was actually killed on July 6th of 2024. We actually didn't hear about her death until July 25th. For those of you who have watched my Malcolm Jamal Warner video that I dropped just a few days ago, then you'll remember that it's something very interesting that takes place where these people pass away in between the dates of July 20th and July 25th. Really from the beginning of July up until the end of July. And a lot of people have hopped in the comment section and said it's the summer solstice. If you don't know what that is, do your research on the summer solstice. It's a very interesting time of the year because it seems to be a period of time when people lose their life, and it makes national headlines. Because in that video, we talked about how Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away on July 20th by way of drowning. Barack Obama's chef passed away 2 years on the same Sunday in that July by way of drowning. Way back in 1969, I believe it was, Martin Luther King's brother passed away a year after his assassination by way of drowning on the same exact date as Malcolm Jamal Warner, all by drowning. And I had somebody to hop in the comment section and let me know that Usher, the artist Usher, had a stepson who passed away by way of water on July 6th of, I believe, like 2012. Well, here we have Sonya Massey, who passed away July 6th. But what's very interesting about her passing last year was that she passed away July 6th, but it didn't actually make the news and go viral until July 25th. And I know that because I made like 3 videos on my channel covering this topic, including the way in which Officer Tatum covered this situation and how he justified the officer's behavior, even though any and everybody watching from all different walks of life, all different races, all different political views, all agreed the officer was clearly in the wrong. But Officer Tatum said that the officer's actions was justified. Which leads me to my next point. I believe that these influencers are typically used when these psyops are taking place on the people and within our culture. I believe that these influencers are being used to pour gasoline on the flames. Well, that brings us to this year, and I'm just paying attention to everything, and it's just like it's so much stuff happening, and I have so many questions, and I'm just curious what you all think. Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan passed away 2 days after each other. Hulk Hogan was the 3rd person to pass away, and he was probably the one that got the most attention. Not only because he was probably the most famous of the, I mean, I guess that's debatable, him and Ozzy Osbourne, all 3 of them were pretty famous. But he got the most attention because of some remarks that he had garnered a lot of backlash a few years ago for, that he made about black people. And these claims were, he had used the N-word, and he even at one point in time, I guess, to some extent said that he felt like God was going to give him karma. He was afraid that God was going to give him karma and make him come back as a black man. A lot of people deemed him as racist, which then caused Michael Rappaport to make a video and was saying he didn't care what people said. You're not going to disrespect him. Hulk Hogan, he don't care what Hulk Hogan did. It doesn't matter. He was he revolutionized the sport of wrestling. So it's a lot of back and forth going on because Hulk Hogan got a lot of hate after he passed away.
Get out of here. One thing I hate is I hate racists, man. I hate them. And I always want them to go away. I always want them to go away. Get the out of here. I don't wish anything on anybody. Death, I don't wish. But, how am I supposed to feel that a racist mother is gone?
Well, right around the same time, you have a video going viral of this young guy, William McNeil Jr., who pretty much just went viral all over the internet after he was pulled over by a police officer and things became super violent. But the interesting thing is, this video was filmed earlier this year, but he didn't release the video on his social media account until this month. Just like the Sonya Massey thing happened weeks before everything took place and took off. It's like this is the perfect time when it's supposed to go viral, because you have a black kid, he didn't lose his life by the grace of God, who gets pulled over by the police. Turns out he had, I believe, suspended license, expired registration tags, but the police didn't know any of that beforehand. They pulled him over because he wasn't driving with his headlights on in the middle of the daytime, but the laws in Florida states that you have to have your lights on if you have your wipers on while it's raining. Well, from the body cam footage from the kid's video, we can never see that it's raining. His car do have raindrops on them, so maybe it was raining earlier. But we actually got to see the body cam footage from the inside of the police's car, well before he got out of the car, when he was pulling up on the kid and everything. We never see it raining. The street that they're on is extremely dry. The street across from them is extremely dry. You can hear the kid saying, but it wasn't raining, and it's not raining. The officer also tells the kid that he didn't have his seatbelt on. The irony here is that the police officer also did not have his seatbelt on. You can see from the body cam footage, when he pulls up and gets out of the car, he never takes off a seatbelt because he wasn't wearing one. Another ironic thing about this video footage is that when the other police officers pull up, they're also not using headlights. So the officer tried to get this guy William to cooperate. William refused, said he didn't understand why he was being pulled over. The officer told him why he was being pulled over. William said he didn't agree with that. He still don't know why he's pulled over. He requested a supervisor. The police officer said, not until you get out the car. William closed the door. He did let the officer know that this window can't let down. After the police officer warned William multiple times that he will break the window if he does not open the door and get out, the police officer would then break the window. This is where things took a turn for the left, because the police officer would not only break the window, but then he starts he punches the kid in the face, gets him out the car, and then they all start wailing on him, puts him in handcuffs, and they're still punching him. When I see behaviors like this, let me be clear where I stand. I think William was in the wrong for simply being uncooperative and extra. Turns out he had a little bit of weed in his pocket. Not a criminal amount. It's legal to have weed in Florida if you have a CBD card. But to my understanding, he didn't have one. And as I already stated, he has suspended license. So yes, he shouldn't have been driving to begin with. But I have reason to believe that the stop was illegal. So I think both parties were wrong. I think the officer was especially wrong for assaulting the kid. Well, guess what? Remember when I said earlier in the video how I believe that they use influencers to add gasoline to the fire to get everybody up in arms? Once again, the same person, Officer Tatum, makes a video about it and justifies the cops' behavior. Says that the cops were not excessive and supported their actions. Are you kidding me? Which, by the way, remember when I told you all in the Martin Luther King documentary, which if you haven't checked it out, it's, in my opinion, the best video I've ever dropped on this channel. The views do not reflect the quality and the substance in that video. You should really go and check it out. But there was a very integral part of that video where we talked about how many members of the BRAWL, many of these members of the BRAWL also happen to work in politics. And what you'll typically notice is whenever a situation like what's happening right now with William takes place, there's always that chosen attorney that represents, quote unquote, the black community who shows up. You had Al Sharpton once before, and he still does it to an extent now. Now you have this new guy, Ben Crump, just like they have a select few pastors, Jamal Bryant being one of them. It's a select few people who they choose who are part of these fraternities, who are part of these quote unquote brotherhoods. How do they find these people before anybody else? And what makes these individuals, that being William, McNeil, or anybody else, choose these attorneys? There's a lot of attorneys that have the skill set to handle these types of cases. What is it about these attorneys that make them choose it? They always show up and they're always going to make it about race. Always, every single time. Yes, sometimes race is part of the reason. But guys, y'all have to think deeper, especially my so-called black community. Yes, racism exists, but that's not what these people are doing. They're exploiting these individuals. In some cases, some of these individuals are a part of the whole script. I truly believe that with everything in me. And they're manipulating the masses in order to cause an uproar. But it doesn't stop there. Because then you had, on July 25th, you had the Cincinatti brawl that took place that's finally making its rounds across the internet. And the image that's went pretty much viral at this point is this woman who seems to be unconscious laying on the concrete. And it's definitely, the people are trying to make this a racially motivated thing. Maybe it was, I don't know. But the internet is definitely doing it, claiming that 5 people have been arrested and have been charged, I believe, with assault because of a fight that took place at 3 a.m., which for those of you who don't know, 3 a.m. is one of those special hours, those weird hours where a lot of things tend to take place. But if I get into that, this video will be too long. So you have that taking place. And then you got Vivek Ramaswamy, for those of you who don't know, previous presidential candidate, was running for president up against Trump them just a few months ago, is now running for governor of Ohio. And I pretty much believe he's using this moment to politicize this situation because my understanding, he contacted the girl, he's talked with the girl. And so this has a lot of people up in arms. You got conservative talking heads like Matt Walsh and others reposting this, saying that there's no place for this type of violence. And if this was a black person, then people would be rioting. It's like they're trying to start something up. But as if that wasn't enough, you got the situation with the guy William, you got the situation with the Cincinatti brawl, and now you need one to drive the point home. That brings us to the recent shooting that took place in Manhattan, New York. And essentially what they told us happened was there's a guy by the name of Shane Tamura who drove from Las Vegas to Manhattan to this building that just so happened to hold the NFL headquarters, which is apparently where he was trying to get to. He had a M4 style semi-automatic rifle. And I want you all, when we talk about numerology, I want you all to pay attention to this. The guy was 27 years old. Why is that important? It's important because if you all remember the 27 Club, we talked about this when it comes to celebrities and mainstream news. All these famous people that seems, or people that have made the news, not just celebrities, that seem to pass away at the age of 27. From Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Lil Peep, Juice WRLD, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Robert Johnson, and the list goes on. So this 27-year-old guy drove from Las Vegas all the way to New York, apparently, to Manhattan. And they're saying that this guy had a documented mental health history, played high school football in Los Angeles, entered the building at 345 Park Avenue, Midtown Manhattan, which is a 44-story office tower that houses the National Football League headquarters, Blackstone, KPMG, and Rudin Management. His intended target was the NFL offices. However, he reportedly took the wrong elevator bank and ended up on a floor occupied by Rudin Management, where additional fatal shootings occurred. Would you all like to know the floor that he accidentally got off on? Is 44 floors in this building, said 44 floors. He meant to go to the floor where the NFL headquarters were stationed because he was apparently upset with them because he believed that he had CTE, which is a brain condition that a lot of football players and athletes deal with either during or after their career. What floor you think he accidentally got off on? They're telling us that he took the wrong elevator bank to the 33rd floor. Now, a lot of you are going to say that's just a coincidence. It doesn't mean anything, does it? I have more than 600 videos on this channel. Do you know how many videos we keep finding these same coincidences? Do you know why I literally have a series called More Than a Coincidence? Because we keep seeing the same stuff over the years. All of us can't be crazy for just noticing and believing what our eyes and our brain is telling us. The 33rd floor. Clearly, the number 27 is significant for a reason. Clearly, the number 33 is a Freemason or Masonic number. The number 3 is extremely important. You want me to believe he accidentally got off on the 33rd floor. And by the way, he shot and killed 3 people. What is this? Which, by the way, I send my condolences to them and their families. He shot multiple people, by the way, but only 3 of them passed away before he killed himself. And this apparently happened on July 28th, 2025. I don't have all the answers, y'all, but we know that occultism is extremely serious in this world. We know that the CIA is working nonstop, 24 hours, 24/7, with whatever agendas that they have in many different industries. And when I look at this stuff and I start piecing these things together, I'm saying, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to create some sort of race war? Are they trying to distract us from the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump ordeal? Are they trying to place the country in a particular, I don't know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's clear that they're doing something here. Because we go from nothing to everything. There's nothing and then there's something. There's nothing and then people being attacked by the police. There's nothing and then people being killed by the police. Whether they're complicit and or they're the reason they're being killed or whatever. It's very strange. Not to mention, people have speculated for a while if George Floyd was a part of the Boule or some sort of society because of the tattoo on his chest, which heavily resembles the tattoo that LeBron James has, whom I believe is a member of the Boule. If you all would like to see me break that down by George Floyd and what I really believe that's about, I would have to do it on Patreon, but hop in the comment section and just comment George Floyd, right? If 50 of you comment George Floyd, then I'll consider it. But yeah, man, y'all up in the comment section, let me know what y'all think about this. I just wanted to bring this to y'all's attention. I just feel like at this point it's almost laughable just how they play on us. That's what I believe they're doing. I do. Yes, I believe some people can pass away naturally. Yes, I believe there are certain situations with police that naturally happen. But some of this stuff almost just seems contrived to me. It does. Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.